In part 2, we continue our conversation with TMSS teacher Dennis Kubat. Today, we're talking about something every teacher understands deeply: how to keep showing up with energy, presence, and clarity, even when life is moving faster than we are. You know the feeling. You want to check in with yourself, breathe, reset, or ground your energy. But between the early mornings, the hundreds of decisions you make before lunch, and the full life waiting for you at home, those intentions quietly fall to the bottom of the list. In this episode, Dennis helps us reclaim those small but powerful moments. We dig into recognizing our own yellow and red zones, why 5 seconds of grounding can shift an entire class, and how simple mindset flips, like turning "I have to" into "I get to," can change the tone of your day. If you've been juggling it all and wondering how to protect your energy without adding more to your plate, this is the conversation for you. Let's jump into part 2 and explore the practical strategies that can help you feel more regulated, more connected, and more like the educator and human you want to be. Welcome to Northeast Voices, a podcast that spotlights the innovators and change makers in education. We're here to share the stories of inclusion, empowerment, and the impactful connections with the Northeast School Division and beyond, focusing on the pivotal role of students, families, and teachers. Join us as we dive into the conversations revealing the strategies and moments shaping the future of education. Any Voices is your platform for inspiration and connection, and is recorded in the Northeast School Division, sharing the land of Treaties 4, 5, 6, and homeland of the Métis in Northeast Saskatchewan. Be sure to subscribe and join our community of innovators and change makers. Let's get started. I like what you said about if it's green, we keep going. If it's yellow, that's an awareness. And building that awareness is a skill in itself, right? Like knowing, how do I feel in my body? What am I starting to think? When did my self-talk shift? Am I shifting my interactions with others? All of that awareness, it's a process in learning how to do that, how to sort of capture when you're in that moment. It also coincides really nicely with what we're working on in the school with regulation and well-being for our students, right? We ask our students to think about, how am I feeling? What does that look like? Is it time to take a breath? What are all of those strategies? And the more that we learn, the more we see the power of co-regulation. When you're around people who are high energy, our energy goes up. If we're around people that are spiraling and it's more negative, that can pull us down. And we need to be able to kind of look at how we can regulate ourselves within that. So everything that you've mentioned ties in so nicely with all of the work that we're doing with regulation and with our students. So you may have already, if we have parents listening to the podcast, you may have heard your children talking about some of the strategies. You might even hear them talking about being in a green zone or a red zone or a yellow zone, or we do some body breaks, and all of those pieces are linked back to regulation, just like you mentioned for us as educators. And I like that you said there's a physical piece. So whatever you do, some people, if they tap their arm or they chest, or you're touching your necklace, it's a physical cue to help reset your brain, or if you have to stand up or you need to move. And then I like the piece that you said that you're grounding. So you pick a focal point that just kind of gives you that moment, and you take a breath, and then you reset within that. And like you said, that's 5 seconds that can make a huge difference to how the rest of that ripples out from there, how we interact with people. I also really appreciate that you shared that just because we have the strategies doesn't mean that every day goes perfect. Some days it's hard, and some days we get stuck in the red. And that's where colleagues that you can connect with to help you, give you that perspective. You can always reach out to your administrator and talk with them. Or if you have an accountability partner, that's somebody to talk to about those different pieces. The other thing that I liked what you said is, and I just heard this in a clip that I saw on social media, but this person talked about TNT. We can focus on the things that are TNT. It takes no talent. So what you said is pausing and doing those things. We can all do that. It doesn't take any special talent to be able to say, I'm going to stop for a moment and take a breath, or I'm going to work on being prepared, or those are all things that we can learn. They're maybe not always easy to make sure that the supper planning is going well. And that's a skill that my husband and I need to work on, because when you get home and you have no energy, what do we make for supper is definitely something that I wished my past self had looked after that much better for me. But there's those things that don't take any talent that we can build those and they actually help to level up where we're at in the day for those types of things. The other thing that you've mentioned several times is energy. Well, we always talk to the students about what's that kind of that just right zone. What's the appropriate amount of energy for the space that I'm in? If I'm in the gym, then more energy. And being a phys ed teacher does take a lot more energy. It's a bigger space. There's a lot of movement happening. There's a lot of excited kids that are in there wanting to move and interact with each other. If we're in a classroom, it's a little bit quieter. And again, that fluctuates throughout the day. So when we think about energy, do you have any suggestions for how we can stay energized, keep it sort of in that positive way? And the other thing that I thought too when you were going through things is some of the phrases that you can shift. And we talked about this in mentorship, I think last year, instead of saying, I have to go pick up my daughter from this, or I have to go do my workout, or I said I would make that phone call, I get to. So if you can flip it from I have to I get to, that shifts it in our brain so we can start to see those as opportunities. I get to have a conversation with a parent. I get to go pick up my daughter, which gives me more time in the car. I get to pay the bills, which means that I'm able to afford to do that. But if you can flip those types of things, that helps with our mindset as well. But circling back to the energy, how do we keep that energy up during the day? Because we know we have parents who are getting up early, trying to carve out a little bit of time for themselves. Like, as teachers, we're doing that. We head off to a full day. There are, I think I looked it up. What research shows that teachers make more than 1,500 decisions a day, 252 judgments per day, and we get pretty tired by the end of the school day, and then we go home to our families. So, do you have any suggestions or strategies for how to maintain that energy throughout the day? How do we kind of go through the ups and downs of energy during the day and still have a little bit of energy left for us to look after ourselves at the end?
For sure. I'll just go quickly back to the yellow red release.
Yep.
So just a quick talk. So I call it like a BFS. So what's your body language? What's your focus? What's your self-talk in green, in yellow, and red to get those keys on where you are at that time. And then what situation would put you in green? What situation would put you in yellow? What situation would put you in red? I think, especially having the opportunity to work with individuals one-on-one, athletes and even non-athletes, anyone, like I said, can benefit from this. So we just talk
Mhm.
about situations right that. So that gives them an understanding. Like I could even do it with my grade 8, grade 9 class as a lesson, 100%.
Yes.
And then, okay, so now you know, kind of, you can see, okay, my shoulders are slumped. All right, my
Yes.
self-talk is getting negative. I think I'm no good at this or whatnot. So, okay, now that's my time where, hey, I need to use that. Or I work with like a pitcher, for example, if they are struggling on the mound or they give up a hit and just kind of, okay, now I'm just starting in yellow, but okay, let's get that back to green. Okay, my body language is going a little bit, or my focus or my self-talk is not where it needs to be. So it's just a quick reminder. All right, let's get back to green, back to present that way. But back to like energy, I think like, for example, if I was like in grade 9, we are doing dodgeball and then we're doing this instead of like, you can't really like, I just need to bring it that energy. And I think just like you say, preparing yourself and having that energy is going to reflect off on the kids, no matter what you're doing. Even if it's, okay, I know this is a PowerPoint day, but how can I bring the energy to have success? Or, oh, you know what? My kids are not listening when I'm doing PowerPoints. Maybe I need to think as an educator, that strategy is not working. How can I
Mhm.
make this more fun where I can bring the energy and they're still going to learn from that situation where we talk about, like example, the triangles. We went from 30 to 120. That's a
Right.
strategy. And we talked about in that netted group is we got to almost get extreme as teachers, right? We went from a chalkboard to a smart board to what we have now. But I think
Mhm.
sometimes we get stuck in the past of doing things. For example, if I relate it to gym, like, yeah, we can do a 10-minute run, but like, I think that is a time of the past. Why don't I figure out a way where we can still run for 10 minutes, but maybe it's an amazing race now. You're still
Yeah.
doing the same thing, but they're going to be more motivated. They're going to bring the energy. You're going to be more excited. And I think just as educators, we have to work on preparing, talking. There's tons of things out there on the internet now that are able to help us. But at the end of the day, I think it's you just having to I think, like I said, it starts with a good routine, winning that morning. Kid and I come to school. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And now I get my first class and hey, maybe I know I've struggled with this class, but each day I'm going to bring the energy and I'm going to be a positive example for them. And eventually it will lay off. Like my goal at the end of each day is hopefully when students go home and parents ask, how was your day? They say gym was the best part of your day. That's my
Yes.
goal as an educator every day. And if I'm not bringing the energy where it's easy in some classes and tough in others, depending, but at the end of the day, like it says on my bracelet, good, I get a chance to really work with this class because we are struggling to get motivated and I'm struggling as an educator, but good. This is going to make me stronger 2, 3 years down the road. Hey, when I have to do this again, I'm going to have a lot more strategies to be successful. So I think it's a lot on you as a teacher. And I think it's just setting yourself up to be successful when you get into that school. It's not like, oh, I have to go to school again today. I don't know, maybe
Yes.
like I love my job. I love being in the gym each and every day. And I know a lot of teachers might not be able to say that. And we struggle with that. But I think a lot of it is, and I'm setting myself by doing other things. When I get there, I'm prepared. I won the morning and I'm ready to go. And I'm able to bring that energy. Cause like you said, sometimes the gym, you got to bring it a lot, a lot. And some days, hey,
Yes.
it was up at all night and I'm tired. Using that as an excuse, I try and say, all right, good. This is going to be a struggle today, but I'm going to get through it and I'm going to be happy that I did it. And it's just having
Yes.
that mindset of kind of changing the situation, almost making it a little bit of a challenge for yourself in those situations. I don't know if it really answered the question big time, but it's just like, I don't know. I just find energy is your edge, like I say. So if we can bring that positive energy, and maybe if you're not that positive, raw person, what are some other
Mhm.
strategies? Maybe that is just checking in with students throughout the class. Hey, how was your weekend?
Yes.
Or hey, I heard you had a hockey tournament, or hey, you had a gymnastics. How did that go? And just providing those positive reinforcements that way, I think, is huge for us as educators.
Yes.
And I think kids can really like relate to that and almost gain more respect because of it.
And I appreciate what you mentioned because some days go well, some days are a struggle. It's just kind of how life ebbs and flows. But we do get to choose how we show up for that. And what we model helps the students to understand. So if they know that I've I didn't get as much sleep, but we're going to do the best that I can. I'm going to work on these types of things. If we're modeling those strategies, and I think one of the most important things that we can do is look after ourselves so that we model that to our children, to our students, that we share what those strategies are. Like you said, it can be as simple as you're greeting them at the door when they come in because you're excited to see them walk through the gym door. It's celebrating those small wins. And you talked about that for us, right? If we're looking after ourselves, but also when we see that in colleagues, if, somebody is winning the day or are you just leveled up or got that skill and that's a celebration. We met a success criteria. We all had a voice into that and we made a change from there. We get to choose that energy that we bring. And sometimes I think we think energy is like this big thing and you come in and it's super high level all the time. But it can be that quiet energy that you bring, that you're noticing those small things, that you're making those connections. Because I think never underestimate when you're walking down a hall and someone says hi, or someone smiles, or a colleague says, that really helped me out, or that provided me some perspective. We never quite know how our energy ripples into the world, but that it can certainly make a difference. And looking after ourselves, which is a choice, because I think I've gone through a point where work was busy and my daughter had lots on the go and we were running a lot. And so I always thought, "Well, I just need more sleep instead of maybe these other things." But building those little pieces in, even if it's 5 minutes to kind of look after yourself, that could be breath work for 5 minutes. Just grounding. It could be looking at gratitude and what are three things that I'm thankful for today, or three things that turned out better than expected, or one thing that surprised me. All of those pieces can help us to feel better physically and mentally and emotionally for that. So I know one of the things you had reached out to us about was talking with brand new teachers. So if teachers are brand new to the profession, or I have lots of experience, but maybe I just can't seem to hit that work-life balance. Is there anything else that you'd like to add for our brand new teachers out there? You're coming into education, things that you can do for yourself that actually ripple out and help you to be more effective and connect more as a teacher?
Yeah, I think like we talked about, it's just having those routines to start the day, and I just working at like on your mindset and just being open to you're going to have struggles. Life's not going to be perfect. That's okay. We're learning. And I think just like you talked about before, which I really thought was really good when you just talked about having other educators in the building. And I don't know, I find massive gratitude if I can have another teacher come to me and saying, "Hey, Dennis, I know you're doing a really good job in gym." That means so much to me than more than like a text or an email when you're coming face to face. And I think as teachers, if we can help others get those small wins, because I look at it like obviously I'm a sports guy and I think we're a big team. Like we're a team.
Yes.
As teachers, that's our team. And if someone, is struggling, with maybe those little words of encouragement can go a long way making them successful. But I just look back, I guess, on my first few years as an educator and just thought like, hey, how can the mental game, like help them? And like I said, like I didn't have good AM routines. I didn't have good PM routines. I didn't have my checklist. My time management skills were a work in progress.
Yes.
So I think as new educators, if we can just develop some of these skills and habits that might work for you, some might not, but hey, do I have a yellow red release? Or when things get tough, how can I just take a minute or take 10 seconds to breathe? Hey, my lesson went awful for that hour and the superintendent was in. Instead of being like, oh no, light's over, good. All right, I'm going to learn and this is going to be funny in a year's time when I really put in the
Yes.
work and got better. Or just, I think reflection is big too. Like how you said, like, what are 3 wins I had today? Maybe I
Mhm.
maybe didn't have the best day, but before you go to bed, that's the last thing, for example, on my checklist. 3 wins, 3 things I'm thankful for. I don't even write them down. I just think about them before I go
Mhm.
to bed. All right. Didn't have a great day, but what are 3 things that I did? 3 wins I had. And hey, what am I? Or just that reflection on, hey, why did this lesson go well? I call it go well better. How? What am I doing well? What can I do better? How can I do that better? And maybe from there, come up with, oh, I'm noticing a pattern over the last 2 or 3 weeks where what I can do better is pretty similar. So there's an area or a strategy I need to work on,
Yes.
get better. Like I tell my clients, I call it like, it's called Ken. So first meeting I ever meet with them, it's like, so what do you know about the mental game? What are you executing on? What do you need from me? S is what these are the strategies I can do could help you in the long run. So I think that almost be the same if you're a early educator. All right, what do I know? What am I executing on? What do I know I'm good
Mhm.
at as a teacher? What do I need?
Yes.
Okay, these are the things they need. So let's come up with strategies from the mental side that I can help you with, get you there. Like I look at one of our new teachers and they just talked about, hey, Dennis, I'm meal planning now. Hey,
Yes.
for your presentation, now I'm meal planning and it's working really well. His first year teacher, he's like, that's awesome. And now he's got that strategy going for him when he's 22 for the next life.
That's huge.
So
That's a huge
that's
win.
huge. Just if I would have like known that at that age, how important that is, like he took the initiative of actually trying it and doing it. So good on him for that. But hey, if there's small wins like that go a long way. Hey, that's just one check in his box. That is going to help him become a better educator from preparing himself.
Yes, and I like what you said. We just have to start. It might be messy, and I think sometimes as teachers, and I can say my name is Stephanie, and I'm a recovering perfectionist. We like to do everything perfectly. I don't think it's unique to education. There's probably a lot of us as perfectionists out there where we really want it to go well the first time, and we put a lot of effort into it, and then it can be really stressful if it doesn't. Rather than progress beats perfection every time, right? Just taking action and I think with confidence, it's you have to take the action before you actually get the confidence, right? The more action you take, the more that will build your confidence, the more that you'll build your resilience from that. You just have to make a decision to start and decide that it doesn't matter if it's perfect. It matters that I started and they figured out if that's working, if that habit, do I need to tweak that habit? And it only has to start with one small thing. So I think as we kind of wrap things up here, in today's episode. And I think this has been fantastic, Dennis. You have given us so many different concrete, actionable strategies that we can do, ways that we can go through and do that. So make sure that you go back and re-listen to the episodes. We'll try to even summarize some of the yellow red release strategies so that you've got those as a bit of a reference, but you can set those up however you would like. But it's that idea that you just need to choose one thing and try that and then be consistent with that one thing. And if 10 minutes seems overwhelming, start with 5. Start with 3 things before you fall asleep at night that went well, or one thing I'm going to work on tomorrow, or get that coffee started for you in the morning. I'm not a coffee drinker, but getting whatever you need ready for you in the morning that your future self will thank you for can make a huge difference. So I thank you for joining us today. Is there anything else, any other questions or something that's come up while we were having the conversation that you'd like to share, or any other strategy that you want to end with as we kind of wrap things up?
Yeah, I think with just along the lines of what you're saying, I like the saying, like, thoughts determine what you want,
Yes.
but actions determine what you get. So lots of times, as teachers and students and everyone, we think, hey, we want to do this in our AM routine, or hey, we want to do the have positive self talk. But I think, like you said, it's the start that stops most people. So, but if we
Yes.
can actually do one thing, that the action part, and like you said, it can small, like I'll look out like that book, The Compound Effect, just small wins over time up to have success. So we can take one strategy, like you said, and just start building on that. Once you see a couple small wins, then you get excited and continue to build off that and have a lot more success, I find.
Yeah, so and I appreciate the reminder that it takes time, right? You need to give yourself some grace. And if you miss a day, that's okay. You just start again tomorrow, but you just keep taking that action, you refine it, you keep going, because I don't think any of us would say, I'm going to go to the gym and work out. And in one day, I think I'm going to look fantastic and I'm going to feel good. And that doesn't happen in a day. We wouldn't even say that probably happens in a week. That is definitely the compound effect that occurs over time. So whatever you're starting today is an investment in yourself. And I think if you've read Atomic Habits by James Clear, he talks about the compound effect in there. The cost of bad habits is your future. Now is good. So if you have a bad habit, now is fantastic. I can eat whatever I want. I can say whatever I want in my head. Doesn't matter, but it does in my future. The cost of a good habit is now is hard, but your future gets easier. So those small investments in yourself now, whether that's when I get to school, I'm going to say hi to a colleague, or I'm going to check in with somebody, I'm going to find an accountability partner, somebody, and it can be really low key. You could text in and be like, hey, I won my morning, or it could be more intensive because you're training for a marathon, or you have a very specific goal that you're working on, or it could just be, I got out of bed 5 minutes earlier and had a whole 5 minutes to myself to just breathe and kind of set for my day. So I think it's taking finding those small things that work for you. And so I would encourage you, and anybody listening to think of one thing. What's one thing that Dennis mentioned or that you found helpful in the podcast, or one area where you'd like to shift that, and then take one small step forward for that and see if you can stack those together. As we wrap up the episode, we hope that you found something helpful. I'm going to turn it over to Dennis for one more actionable strategy that you can keep in mind, and then we'll wrap things up.
Perfect. So I call this like the E plus R equals O. So the event plus the response equals the outcome. And as teachers, we don't really have control of the event a lot of the time, but we have 100% control of that response. How are we going to respond to that situation, which will then help with our outcome. So it's just a good strategy on just really remembering, working on controlling the things you can control. You have 100% control over how you respond. The event, maybe a kid is really disrespectful towards you. You have 100% control over that response, and how you respond, I think is huge on that outcome, right? If we respond negatively, the outcome's probably going to be negative. If we respond positively, the outcome has a better chance to be positive. This is a good strategy, even in life. Like I look at it lots with like my kids, the event, maybe your kid is really bugging you, get under your nerves. How am I going to respond on the things I can control is going to have an effect on that outcome. So I think it's just a strategy just to keep your mind thinking of, okay, this event happened. how I respond is going to determine what that outcome is. And at the end of the day, that's 100% your choice. So just even working with
Yeah.
a couple of my clients throughout, we have a E+R=O sheet. So for the week, they write down things they responded positively to, things they responded negatively to, and we're all humans. We're going to respond
Yes.
negatively to things. And it's just a good reflection of, okay, hey, what is a way that I could have responded in a positive way? Or, hey,
Yes.
look, mom told me to unload the dishwasher. I responded by saying, yes, mom. Outcome, she was happy.
Yeah.
Or response, I said, no, give it 10 minutes. She's getting upset and mad. Outcome would have been that. So it's just a good way for you to, I find, if you actually write it down and see it, okay, these are the things that I responded well. These are the things I didn't. Is there a pattern? Or, hey, let's reflect on these situations. And I think even as teachers, and just having that time to reflect on things you responded negatively, that is with your accountability partner or not. It's just you just trying to improve yourself as a teacher in as many ways as we can to get the best for the students.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate digging into in mindset, the importance of looking after ourselves, because again, I know that's something that often all of us do is think, we'll help everybody else and then I'll look after me. But sometimes we need to look after ourselves so that we can help everybody else to get through the day and to level up there. So thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions for Dennis, don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you're curious about what his presentation was, or you'd like to hear another podcast episode answering some different questions or digging into some different strategies, please reach out and let us know. Thank you so much for joining us, Dennis. I know you have a class to join right away, so we will wrap things up here. And we'll see you on the next episode of Any Voices.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you to Dennis for joining us on Any Voices and sharing practical strategies and habits that can energize our mindset and carve out some space just for you. As we wrap up today, here are 3 of our key takeaways. First, remember the value of awareness. Tuning into your own green, yellow, or red zone, your body language, your self-talk, and your focus gives you the chance to reset before the moment runs away on you. These tiny check-ins help you to respond rather than react. Second, protect your energy in ways that work for you. Whether that's winning your morning, grounding yourself for 5 seconds, or reframing I have to into I get to, small strategies can shift the tone of your entire day and ripple into your classroom, your home, and your own well-being. And third, give yourself permission to start small. As Dennis reminds us, thoughts determine what you want, but actions determine what you get. That one step, no matter how simple, is what builds confidence, resilience, and long-term change. If you have a favorite strategy or habit you learned from this series, share it with us. If you're interested in more episodes focused on well-being, let us know. Thanks to Dennis for joining us and sharing these strategies to help us with our well-being. Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining our community of innovators and change makers. We hope the conversations and stories have ignited a spark within. We'd like to express our gratitude to our dedicated Northeast educators. Until next time, remember to subscribe to Any Voices and join us on the next episode as we share the stories of learning shaping our future. Thanks for listening.